Hey all, so I wanted to share with you a short idea about Pesach. When you look at all our festive chagim, all our festive holidays, you notice, and this is pretty expected, that they're filled with very detailed positive mitzvahs, meaning mitzvot aseh, all these mitzvahs that tell us what to do, how to do them, when, where, and exact details of what we should be doing. But with Pesach, we have this interesting addition that together with our positive mitzvahs that we have on Pesach as well, we have this additional prohibition that's a very central part of the Chag. This mitzvat lo ta'aseh of Isur Chametz. We're not allowed to eat chametz. Chametz meaning bread that has risen. We can't eat it, we can't see it, we can't own it. We can't have it at all. Now, this is a very extensive example of a prohibition. Okay, it's not just a small prohibition, it's with everything. We can't even, see it or own it. We have to get rid of it weeks before. So this is no little mitzvah. It's a very central part of the Chag. And what's more interesting is that if we speak about, if every Chag has this kind of theme, the theme of Pesach is freedom. We would probably mostly agree, right? Us Jews mostly agree. But most of us would agree that the theme of Pesach is freedom. And Dafka, and specifically in this Chag, that we learn so much about freedom, about Cherut, about Yetzi'ah me'avdut lecherut, it has this added element of a prohibition, of something that we shouldn't be doing. That doesn't sound like freedom. That doesn't sound like, whoopee, we're free. So this made me think about a beautiful memory from our early days of marriage when Yara and I were newlywed. We were living in an apartment that is our beloved uncle and aunt's part of their home in Beit Vagan. And we were living there, and their home, it's a beautiful home, so it's in Beit Vagan, in this area that's already very hilly, and the home itself is placed kind of like on a hill, so you have to kind of walk up quite a few flights of stairs to get to the home, and then the home also has a few floors. And we lived on the bottom floor. It had kind of a separate apartment there, and but you could go up the stairs up to the roof. It had this beautiful roof. Now at the time the home was still under construction, and not everything was in place. And when we got up to the roof, it's just this beautiful sight. And you get up to the roof, and it's a big roof. But as I mentioned, it was still not fully done, the home, and it didn't have a fence. It didn't have like a hedge on the roof. And I remember this kind of like mixed feeling, intense feeling of getting onto that roof. And I'm standing there as I walk up with the ladder, and I see this incredible panoramic, gorgeous view of Yerushalayim. You literally could see so much of Jerusalem. I think you could even see the walls of the old city from there. And it's just overwhelming. It's overwhelming to feel that beauty. But because there was no fence, I was kind of like having these mixed emotions, or these clashing emotions of being overwhelmed by this beauty, but also my body feeling completely frozen in its place because I was too nervous to leave that ladder, the only thing that made me feel stable on that roof. And it's a funny thing because yes, it had no fence, but there was plenty of space for me to be very safe and very kind of like, on the cautious side. If I would just walk around that area with the ladder, I would be in no danger whatsoever. But because, there weren't there wasn't this barrier and there wasn't this fence around it, I couldn't even step away from the only thing that made me feel stable. And this really is a much deeper thought and a much deeper kind of like concept, I think. I think that often we have these barriers in our lives, we have these fences or these, these boundaries in our lives. Sometimes they are made by, our parents, sometimes they're made by our schools, sometimes by our communities. And hopefully when we get older, they are also probably created by ourselves as well. And these boundaries initially might seem to be, stopping us or preventing us from doing things. But really, in essence, if we understand them better, we understand that they are protective, at least the healthy type of boundaries, the healthy types of fences are there really to protect us. But more than protecting us from just falling over, they're giving us this zone that we feel completely free because we know that there's a protective fence around it. We know that there's a very clear boundary, so we don't have to worry about falling off the roof. We don't have to worry about that. We could be dancing and singing and not even thinking about what's beyond the roof because we're not going to get there. We're not going to fall off the roof, okay? And this really is a kind of like, it's a beautiful understanding that we could maybe try and grasp if we look at it positively. The minute we understand what our zone is, what our safe area is, not because we're nervous about other areas, but because we're consciously, mindfully understanding what is ours and what isn't, what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. The minute we understand that, we start focusing and noticing what there is right in front of us and what we can do with the space that we do have. And if I compare it to the times that we're in right now, to this Corona era, if I may call it, we could learn a lot from it as well. Yair and I were talking about this, and I don't know if this was done intentionally. Probably it was done intentionally, and if not, it's brilliant. The way things were done in terms of constrictions, in terms of the community's kind of like guidelines, they were done very, very gradually in terms of like our mental health, our psychic, kind of like delving into this new reality, kind of comprehending this new living circumstance. We had to kind of it had to happen gradually. At first, there were all these guidelines in terms of social distancing, in terms of, hygiene directives. And those were taken, kind of like, okay, is this an exaggeration? Is this, what we all should be doing? But we took it seriously and we started doing them. And then there were stricter guidelines. We were told that if we weren't in Israel, then we shouldn't be in spaces with more than 100 people. And then it went even further down that no matter where you came from, even if it's on or off the list of kind of like higher risk areas, even those places need to be quarantined. Those people coming from those places need to be in quarantine for 2 weeks, and so on and so on. And the guidelines became stricter and stricter. And this was in a gradual kind of like phase, kind of letting us ease into that place we were in now. This is pretty much more than a week, but I would say a week since it became very intense, since it kind of like escalated pretty rapidly, but still gradually, maybe a week and a half, at least in Israel. And it's an amazing thing. At first, the first few days, both Yair and I were very, very worried and invested in the yeshiva and the midrashah. We still are, but there was a lot of haze, a lot of worry. The children were home. They had no kind of like educational circles, but they had all these virtual classes that they had to take. We didn't even know how to use the app yet. We tried to have them and we only have one computer, and there was chaos and havoc, and this was at 9 o'clock and that was at 9 o'clock, and they had homework and they had to do it, and we were working, and kind of like balancing all that was craziness. And there was a lot of it, and there's this huge uncertainty and this huge kind of like lack of clarity and fear. I was talking to my students who didn't know if they were able to get back home. There was confusion, there was worry, there was, thoughts about the future, and as adults or as educators, we always want to kind of give guiding, reinforcing assurance, and we were trying to do that, but in terms of, I would like to call it more, it was more obvious that there was less clarity. We always don't have clarity about the future, but in this case, the clarity, the lack of clarity was so obvious, and it was refreshing, but also scary to just say, wow, it's just so scary. We don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what we're going to do. And that was also difficult, dealing with that with our students as well. But this was happening for a few days, and we were trying to work things out and trying to kind of, get into this new zone. Now, a few days in, maybe 5 days into this like extreme situation of these definitely more extreme guidelines, we suddenly found the ground and found our feet standing on that ground. And yes, this is a reality that's still very much uncertain, and there's a lack of clarity and beyond. But at least we understand, and we've kind of like accepted the boundaries of which our new normal has to be in. We don't know how long it's going to persist. We don't know how long it's going to last. But we know what we need to do. We know what we shouldn't be doing. We know what we should be doing. And that gives us some form of fence. It gives us some form of boundary. And that boundary gives us clarity, not of what's beyond those boundaries, because I don't know what's going to be, but it gives us clarity at least about what's within those boundaries. And the beautiful thing about the world, and specifically Am Yisrael, but the beautiful thing is the incredible new opportunities that people are noticing within the realm of possibility. They're noticing chesed opportunities. They're noticing educational opportunities, the Torah learned, the relationships that are being built. They're completely different. The conversations that I'm having with my students, it's like they're completely different people, because I am a different person. Certain things don't matter anymore. Life matters more. The relationships with our children, the relationships between us as parents, things matter more. Suddenly, with all these boundaries and constrictions, you suddenly realize, and we all have priorities in life, but we all also have these important things that we have to do because they are our commitments. But everyone's priority is family. And suddenly our priority is being put right in front of our eyes. And all those things that we know that we should be doing, that we know that we can be doing, but because of the rush of life, because of all these important things that we are committed to and are happily committed to and love doing, suddenly all those things that we should be doing and want to be doing, they're sometimes pushed aside. We fight to get them, but now within these boundaries of constriction, we have the gift to utilize them. The word chametz literally comes from the word hachmatzah. Hachmatzah means missing out, losing out. Take this year, and obviously Torah is constantly relevant to our day, Hayom. Take this year and listen to the message of this prohibition against hachmatzah. Don't miss out. Don't miss out about all those things. Don't miss out anything that's within the realm of those possibilities, because we could be dancing, we could be enjoying the time. And yes, there's stress, I'm not denying it, and there's lots to do, there's still lots to do, still lots of Torah. But there is so much beauty that we could be taking on and we could be accomplishing within those realms. Please God, may we merit to do this. I'd really, really like to thank Reb Chaim Kowalski for really encouraging this video. He's an exceptional educator, and both Yair and I really look up to him, so thank you. I'd like to give a warm shout out to the community, the wonderful community, specifically the Bnei Akiva community of Toronto, Bnei Akiva schools, the snifim, the shuls, all the people, the kids, the students, the teachers, the staff, the parents, everyone. We miss you all a lot. And we wish you really, really well. And to all my students, my Harova, Midreshet Harova students, wherever you are, past and future, all my students, all my campers, both Yair and my campers, we wish you all health, love, a lot of love, a lot of success in this time of accomplishing what's right in front of us. And please God, may we merit, please God, for a Chag Kasher V'Sameach. Wherever you are, whenever you are, I'm wishing you a good morning, a good afternoon, or maybe a good evening. Lots of love.